hit the video button.
Oh, I'm sorry, my beautiful face. And we are back.
Yep. All right. Sorry about that. Apparently have a nightly internet outage requirement. Some nights we get lucky and it comes after the show, but tonight it came during the show again. Do you have any last thoughts on internet airbags before we move on?
No, I think I'm ready to talk about petrol powered,
All right.
which once again I love the art on this card. It's got Turbo Man stopping at the pump to fill up, because for those of you not aware, in the Mega Man story, Turbo Man was actually built using parts from Dr. Wily's car. You know, when you're a mega evil scientist, between real estate, the spikes that make robots explode, and Robot Master parts, money gets a little tight. So petrol powered is a 2 difficulty, 5 control check foundation with no block, with air, life, and void. It says after you play this card, if you have 3 or more foundations, add it to your staging area. And then response, after this card is added to your staging area, your next attack this turn gets +2 damage. So I like this card quite a bit. It rewards you for, playing foundations and ramping up with Turbo Man. Easily, if you get this card plus Lonely in your opening hand, you could end up with 4 or 5 foundations on your first turn for only playing 3 cards, and then go ahead and go to the races and attack, which I think is absolutely insane.
You know what I just
And
noticed about this
then,
card?
what did you notice, Kevin Broberg?
If you have 6 foundations and you play a Maxima Laser, your next attack gets +6 damage,
That is a true story.
and you untap all 3 of them.
That is amazing. And this card is at common, so you're going to see it pretty frequently in draft. These symbols, I think, made out extremely well in this set. This Kevin Broberg, do you think this card has the potential to replace Summer Heat in some decks?
Replace? No. But
Do you think they
it's
go
just
together
fine
really
with
well?
Summer Heat, yeah. Absolutely.
Nothing can replace Summer Heat.
I mean, this card, like, the problem with this kind of card is that if you draw your hand and it's like 5 foundations, and you, like, there's 2 of this and a 0 diff, all of all that the special text on it just doesn't matter anymore, because you're gonna play your 5 foundations. They're all the checks are gonna pass, and it doesn't matter at all. Like, if they were all 2 diffs, you'd play them all, and you'd make a 4, a 5, and a 6 check. And worst case, you would fail the 6 check and commit 2 or 3 foundations in your staging area. And that's if you have really bad luck. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you just have a hand of like 5 2 diffs, it doesn't matter. But like this card in Summer Heat, now you can suddenly like have a turn where you build 7, and then you just
Or
completely
8.
run away with the game. Yeah. Um, wow, this card in Maximal Laser seems like a really, really powerful combo.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, with this card, you could easily fire off 2 Maxima lasers in one turn,
Yeah.
coupled with this card. I mean, even if these are already in your staging area, you took advantage of them earlier in the game. Just starting with, if you have 2 Maxima lasers in hand, you start with that. You bounce 2 or 3 of these if you're exceptionally lucky into your hand, and then you play this on a 3/3/3. You get 3 foundations. Your Maxima laser gets +6. You play another Maxima laser, bounce these back to your hand again, and now
We
your
among
opponent
the Moon people call that the Quad Laser, and it is
and you're
unbeatable.
dealing with an 8 mid for 14. That's gonna be really hard to stop. And then
I
after that, you play petrol powered again if you're for some reason you're short on foundations.
Well, yeah, after your second Maximal Laser is an 8 mid for 14, you play all your petrol powers on 4s this time. Oh no! And then you play another attack and that's +6 more damage.
Yeah,
Isn't this fair?
yeah, I would not be surprised to see quite a few Maxima Laser. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Maxima Laser and Scorch Wheel being paired together as the kill for Turbo Man, because Maxima Laser, you really get rewarded playing that attack when you're doing all the stuff Turbo Man does,
Yeah,
and just getting free foundations.
I feel like there are cards we've seen that are like Agile is an example of a foundation with similar text to this, or Felicia has another one that's like if you have a momentum, you can sheet it straight down, and its
It's
impact
called
is
Ever
lower than
Hopeful,
this.
Kevin Broberg.
No, you don't have to pay a momentum. It just goes straight to your staging if you have momentum. There's cards
Oh,
like
okay.
Soul Beats, and these are the things that are like fast foundations, or the Yamato Man Zero Diff, which just goes down as long as you're behind your opponent. And those are all guardrails because getting fast foundations is inherently a dangerous territory. It's inherently somewhat broken, and all it needs is the right enabler to fill up your hand in the right way, like Maximal Laser, and you can really kind of do insane things. And this card doesn't have any guardrails on it. It just says if you're deep enough into the game, you can go off. If Maximal were legal, he would be like literally broken. Like not having a cost, getting a free foundation every attack, and getting +4. Um, Kula could play this card and even like feel like she can have some self-respect about it too.
Yeah.
This card is it's a dangerous design, honestly, and yeah, it's really powerful if you can turn it on the right way. Anyway.
Yeah, watch out for this card. This might end up on our short list of bannable cards.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go with something a little tamer now.
All right, Racing Rivals. So this it really goes in the opposite direction. I'll read it off first. It's a 1 difficulty, 5 control, +3 high block. Got a great block. After you discard this card due to your opponent's effect, add it and the top card of your deck to your staging area face down. Then it has enhanced discard momentum, readiness foundation, playable while committed. So this card is like the least offensive card that I've ever seen in the entire game. It is just, it's got a cute art of Robot Masters running, like trying to have a race. It punishes discard without actually interfering with it. It just means if you casually discard your opponent's cards, they can outbuild you a little bit. And then once you put it into your staging area, it lets you convert momentum into another resource that you turn into ready foundations to pass control checks or to pay costs. Completely inoffensive. It's a great card just to have in the format to make discard a little bit worse, a little bit more interesting in deck building, and to fill in spam slots and high block slots.
Yeah, I really, really like anti-discard tech like this. Because, I mean, back in the Fantasy Flight era of printing cards, they printed things like, was it Soul Wave? Was it Soul Wave? No, it was the other one. There was a Nightmare card that said after you discard it to your opponent's effect, they commit foundations equal to their hand size.
Oh yeah, no, Soul Wave actually you committed up to
You're
6
right.
or 7 of their foundations, yeah.
You're right, it wasn't even that fair.
It
wasn't even that fair.
There was a card, Warrior's Path, that was a tamed down version of another card, Chinese Sword Style, which said after you discard it to your opponent's effect, you clear your opponent's card pool, which aborts the attack that's currently resolving, and also draw 2 cards. The older cards,
things like
Chinese Sword Style,
discarded
their entire hand or their entire card pool. So you either aborted the attack you were dealing with right now, or you ended their fucking turn, left them with nothing, and then got to draw your hand to kill them.
See, my favorite anti-discard card of all time is still Big Cyclone.
Yeah,
you discarded my Big Cyclone, 4 low for 10. Deal with it.
Yeah, that also I think it stopped your opponent from playing damage pumps for the rest of the turn.
Yeah, it was
something insane like that.
And anti-discard tech has always just been insane like that. And granted, a lot of the times at those times, discard was also insane.
Yeah. So.
But
yeah, you said this is the healthy kind of anti-discard. Assuming we're in a format where, this isn't like because this doesn't actually impinge on the game plan of the discard player. It doesn't actually prevent them from stripping your hand and killing you. But it also doesn't ruin the life of anyone playing things, like the Slashman Foundation that discards high blocks, or any kind of forced cycling.
Yeah, you still get to play UFS when that happens. You don't just lose on the spot like you could against Big Cyclone or Nightwave or stuff like that, or Chinese Sword Style. You didn't just lose. Yeah, your opponent's going to get ahead 2 foundations, but that doesn't matter if you're just going to kill them that turn.
Yep, and if they're ahead 2 foundations, they can still get unlucky. They can still either miss on the attacks during their draw step, or they can miss on, they can check incredibly badly, or like rely on these foundations too much. So yeah, the game isn't over when this happens. So this is a really inoffensive card. I like this card.
I do too, and it's laughter. I mean, it's not nearly as good. I mean, it's instead of being a 2 diff that ignores progressive, it's a 1 diff. It rolls a 3 high block. When Hidden Laughter cycles here, and that's going to cycle in just 2 more set releases after this one.
Yep.
So we're looking at February or March if we stay on the current schedule. Hidden Laughter is going to be gone, which feels strange because we've been playing with it for almost 4 years. And this card seems like a very inoffensive replacement.
Yeah. So like It doesn't quite fill the same shoes. It's a spam. It's like it's a normal one diff instead of a free card. Hit on that after you can pretty much play and be guaranteed to pass the check almost any time. Uh, but it's just a normal card, and it gets different utility. Like the high block is much better than a mid block. Anyway,
Mhm.
you wanna read off
Moving
the
on.
next card?
Number 100, Yamato Man. He's a 719. Now, this is the pinnacle of Tim Keefe design right here. Air, Chaos, and Water. Ready one of your opponent's foundation : your attack gets +1 damage and +3 speed. And then enhance if your opponent has no committed foundations, commit one of their foundations. This is like Tim Keefe 2 dot as far as I'm concerned. This is the character he would have designed for himself had he won another championship. And I think he's really, really cool. Because normally in UFS you want to commit all of your opponent's foundations so they can never pass a block. And at first you're going to look at it kind of sideways, being like, well, why would I want to ready my opponent's things? But giving my opponent +1 foundations for +3 speed, that seems really good. And if your opponent's in a place where they have no committed foundations, you now have targeted committal. Because it doesn't say they commit, it says commit. You get to choose.
Yep.
So if your opponent just has a build turn, and they're like, haha, come get me, and you can just be like, okay, I'm going to play this move and commit the card that can stop me.
Yep, you pick off their best foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think this character is pretty solid. He has a fun gimmick. You're going to see a lot of his cards trigger on your opponent, having certain things ready. And I mean, his ability is really kind of a balanced version. It's kind of a nerfed version of Gemini Man that doesn't scale up. So you can kind of like you can read that ready one if you ready a face down or something. That's like giving them one of their speed back. So now it's only +2 speed. And actually, it's a little even worse than that because they can just decline to block and then save up that -1 speed for the next attack later on. I think the little bit of damage helps a lot in making it a bit more competitive. 7 hand size characters really want to be able to play out some attack strings, and having damage on your character helps that a lot. And being able to pick off your opponent's best foundation is a big deal, to be sure. So I think this is an interesting character you might see. It's certainly he's got enough legs to be competitive. Whether or not he's going to be like winning championships and dominating your local scene, I'm not sure about that, because he is a 19 vitality character without a great many defensive abilities.
I mean, he is on all, which does give him defensive abilities on his symbol. But, he doesn't have any ways on his own to protect himself.
Although, actually, come to think of it, that second enhance can be played any time. So if your opponent attacks you and leads with like a 4 difficulty card, and they can't commit a foundation for their to play their enhance, or if they have they lead with a hurricane up or something that has to have a first enhance played, you get to tap your choice of foundations on your opponent's turn. So that's kind of sweet.
Yeah. So, target anytime you can get targeted foundation committal is sweet.
Yeah.
Honestly, and you can combine that, with Turbo Man's no, not Turbo Man. There was a Tengu Man card that lets you commit any foundation of your choice, but I don't think they match symbols, unfortunately.
He and Tengu Man share water.
Oh, they have water. So I don't know, something to think about. I think he's pretty solid, and eventually I might give him a try.
Yeah, I think he's good enough to play around with. At this point, I wouldn't bet on anything to be the best tournament deck. We have to see how these cards play out in practice. So anyway, let's go to the next card. All right, this card is named Yamatama Damashi.
Or as we like to call it.
I have 2 nicknames for this card already. I have Katamari Damacy because Damashi, it's right there, and also Cryptic Command. And Cryptic Command is a magic card that does everything, just like this card. It's also blue, so it's a perfect match. This is a 2 difficulty, 4 control, +2 mid block action, and it's got 2 responses and a static text. The static text is after you play this card, you may discard it from your card pool or draw 1 card. And its first response, after an attack receives a speed bonus, it gets +X or -X damage. X equals the speed bonus. And its second response, after your opponent readies foundation during the combat phase, add it to their hand. So
This card does everything.
Yeah, so man, all right. So it's a +2 mid block that is it's half a Templar if you want it to be. So just when you block it, you can just draw a card. Or you can block with it and clear from your card pool if you're worried about blocking the next attack, or if you're playing against like Andy or something. If you're tapped out, and your opponent is pumping speed to make their moves unblockable, it can save you a bit of damage by reducing by the speed bonus. And then you can either clear from your card pool or draw a card. Uh, you can also use it as a damage pump. This is actually one potentially quite a large damage pump. Characters like Lilith can use this as a cantrip Absurd Strength. Once you have, let's say you have 3 copies of the same card in your staging area, that's plus 4 damage, and then either clear this from your card pool or draw a card. And then there's some fringe stuff, like if you're playing Andy and you manage to kick out 4 or 5 cards from your opponent's card pool during one combat phase, plus 5 damage. Let's go. And finally, it has a passive mode where if your opponent is readying cards like Bridging the Races, or if they're using a card like Kouken, or even the last card we were out of Turboman support, or Hidden Laughter or something, you can bounce it back to their hand and deny them that resource. Or if you're playing Yamato Man himself, you can also ready a foundation to pay for the cost of his ability and then respond by bouncing it to take that option away from your opponent. And either clear it from your card pool or draw a card. So this card has a whole lot of modes. It does everything, and I think it's good in every situation.
Well, now that Kevin's used up 4 minutes of the 5 minutes on this card, I just agree. This card has, as far as I'm concerned, has 6 modes. And so 2 modes on blocking, 2 modes on speed bonuses, and then 2 modes on readying a foundation. And you could even go on to say this card really has 8 modes. Yeah, 10 modes rather, because
damage. Yeah.
Those 2 responses can be done both offensively and defensively. So this card just does everything. It does everything you want it to. And anytime an action can clear itself from the card pool is good. Anytime you can draw a card is better. And I think there's going to be a lot of interesting gameplay and a lot of debate between people, from casuals all the way up to championship caliber players who are going to argue, what is the best way to use Katamari Damacy's static text? Is it more important to get rid of it or draw a card?
Yep. Well, I personally will lean towards always drawing a card so that I can draw another copy of Katamari Damacy and then do the same thing over again. Can you imagine you're playing Mai and you're like +3/+3? I'm like, wait, no, response -3. I'll draw a card. Ha, -3 again. Ha, throw it down, cancel it. That doesn't actually work, but okay. Next card.
Oh, all right. So, oh boy, Furingu Yamato Supia. Okay, this card's stupid good. +3 low block, 5 difficulty, 2 check, 6 high for 6, all chaos water, multiple 1, ranged, and safe. It says multiple copies of this attack get safe for the rest of the turn. I hereby declare that this card is now called Divine Tribulation 2.
Yep. 6 speed high for 6 is outrageous.
Yeah, so it's 1 less damage than Divine Tribulation, but it starts out at 3 more speed. And you don't have to play some stupid gimmick where you have 40 character cards in your staging area. It's just big. And it's safe. And it's multiple copies are safe. So on playing a 5 difficulty, you're going to lay 12 damage out on the board. And there's nothing your opponent can really do to retaliate. Because usually that's the weakness of multiple is, you can get reversal twice in the same resolving the same multiple attack because of the 2 copies. Here, they can't reversal you. Maybe they pile some breaker on, and okay, whatever. You just had to deal with 2 6 high for 6s. And if your opponent's playing Yamato Man, it's now a 9 high for 7.
Yep.
At the cost of readying one of your opponent's foundations.
Yeah, I think you'll see this card all over the freaking place. My first thoughts are decks like Andy or Sinko. These are wall decks that now suddenly have a great way to end the game. Turbo aggressive characters like Ryu or Lilith can use this very well, just slamming it on turn 2 and trying to end the game on the spot. Ryu can play this on turn 1 with the nut draw.
This card isn't even it's not disrespectful. You can play this in a Mai deck. A 9 high for 9 multiple safe. Yeah. I'm not unsatisfied to play that.
Yep, Yamato Man obviously likes it. It's a freaking 9 speed high for 7. It's really hard to deal with that. Yeah, I think this card is just that foundation that I was saying is a danger zone power level. This card is danger zone power level just on numbers. This is just its stats are ridiculous, and it's not even very hard to
Yeah,
get the momentum on these symbols either.
no, not at all. I mean, with on Chaos you can get
Chaos is like two
momentum pretty
dozen
much free at
ways.
the start of your
Yeah.
turn.
There's
Water
Strength
can
of
get momentum
Tail.
for free.
There's Strength of Tail shares both Chaos and Water. Motivation is available on all. All has a ton of reversals. Water has a ton of reversals. Both these symbols, Chaos and Water, both have reactive style. Chaos has Sweet Baby Challenge. Chaos also has solar powered now. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
Water
so
can.
you're not going to struggle to find momentum for this. And I could see people even putting this card in a Turbo Man deck. I mean, with Turbo Man, this is a
Why the
multiple
heck not?
one 8 high for 8.
Yeah, this
I mean,
is
this deck's going to get a lot of love, just like Divine Tribulation did.
this. Yeah, this card is this
This
card.
card,
Honestly, this card helps define the format because this card existing means that having 20 vitality is now a bigger liability than it used to be. If your opponent gets 2 momentum and draws 2 of these, they need a 5 and a 7, and they can put your life on the line just like that.
yeah,
Um,
very quickly. I think a lot of the cards in this set are going to run 7-handers out of town. These 7-handers that can't defend themselves.
yeah, and the scary thing about this card is that it's so powerful, but if you put 4 of this in your deck, that gives like you don't have a bad Clark matchup at that point because your output is just so high.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like one of
Ooh,
the
scary, scary
yeah.
card.
Anyway, let's move on because like, there's not that much to say about this card except for like, oh man, it's so big. What happens if there's a huge attack in the format? Well, it's so big. All right, we're going to Yamato Supia Jr. or just normal Yamato Supia. This is a 4 difficulty, 3 control, 2 high block weapon attack. It's a 4 speed mid for 4. So this is actually a lot like Crash Slam, huh? Or Turbo Slam rather. It's 4 mid 4 instead of 3 mid 5. Anyway. No combo this time, just the weapon keyword. And as Enhance, if your opponent has more ready foundations than committed foundations, this deck gets 2 speed, 2 damage. So suddenly 6 mid 6 or 4 difficulty sounds like a great time to me.
Yeah, you're going to be. I think in a lot of formats, you're frequently going to get the 2 damage and 2 speed, especially if you lead off with this move.
Yep, this is a great way to start off a turn. It's a great way to punish people who are just playing a bit too defensively and trying to build. At the same time, if your opponent is going kind of going hard on you, it looks a little bit limp. It's just a 4 mid 4 if you don't have anything going on. But hopefully you can take advantage of that weapon symbol, the weapon keyword. Maybe you're playing Slash Man, uh, or Sword Man. Pardon me. Slash Man probably isn't so interested in this card on the symbols. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a card you're going to see in draft. And in limited, sometimes you do have difficulty committing foundations, especially if you don't have good fortune to draw. If your opponent doesn't have the good fortune to draw attacks or try to run into you, and with good blocks being scarce and limited, this might get you through in draft.
Yeah, 60
So
mid for 6
it's not
damage is
embarrassing.
a really nice draft card if your opponent isn't attacking very much.
Yeah.
Helps keep games moving. I like that. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yamato Suramu. 4 difficulty, 3 check with a +2 mid block, 3 mid for 5, all chaos and water, reversal slam. Enhance. If your opponent has more ready foundations than committed foundations, draw a card or add the top card of your deck to your momentum. And we were just talking a minute ago about how easy momentum is to get on these symbols right now. And this
True
is
that.
easy momentum.
Yeah, if you ever reversal with this, you're gonna get this enhance off. It's gonna happen. You can often lead off with this and get the momentum, get the effect that way, especially if you're Turbo or Tengu Man. Or sorry, we're looking at Yamato Man now. Jesus,
Yamato, man.
they they all
And
sound the same.
draw a card is also really good too.
Yeah, attacks that draw cards are just a great place to be, especially in limited. You can just kind of just punish your opponent and outbuild them out, run them out of town with resource advantage. It's a good place to be.
Now this card is uncommon, so on average you're only going to see about 2 of these per box. So if you're running a 4-man draft pod, you're probably only going to get 2 of these between the lot of you.
Yep. Hopefully you can corner the market on these symbols, sketch out your characters pretty early, and try to pick up all of these guys. And conversely, if you're playing against the Yamato Man, you might want to lean on some safe attack pokes and try to get your board committed down to mitigate its effects if you can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got Nippon Banzai on deck. 3 difficulty, 5 control, plus 3 high block, unique foundation. With F once per turn, no cost. Your opponent flips 1 committed foundation. And R destroy. Before your end phase, if your opponent has more ready foundations than committed foundations, gain 3 vitality. So this is an interesting card. Obviously, it's really nice with Yamato Man, who can kind of control what foundations your opponent has, which actually are committed. Imagine your opponent having a Dust in the Wind. You play an attack, enhance, tap that down, and then use his ability to keep everything else your opponent has in their staging area ready. Then you F with Nippon Banzai, and that Dust in the Wind is gone forever. Um, and just in general, I mean, anyone can kind of take advantage of this as long as you can force your opponent to get some face-up foundations committed. Slowly whittling away their staging area with this F once per turn can be quite potent. I mean, Dimitri F's once per turn to flip something, and we've all seen how far he got. The second ability is kind of a neat little thing to sort of try to claw back into a game where you took a lot of damage early. I think you're definitely putting this in your deck for the first half, but the response is a nice little way to make use of extra unique copies of this and to try to play into Yamato Man's theme a little more.
Yeah, this card is build your own Dimitri as long as you can protect it from other foundation destruction. You get a little less choice, because your opponent can just choose they can choose whatever committed foundation they want. But if you've been able to resolve this, a few times, your opponent could be in a position where they are running out of committed foundations to flip, and they may still need to pay costs on foundations in their staging area that are face up. So kind of a weird clock thing. I don't think it'll come up that often, but I really do like the form on a 3 difficulty and at rare, 3 high block. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this card.
Yeah, it's a really good point. This is a rare, so you won't necessarily have 4 of this. You don't necessarily really want 4 of this, but the games where it comes up and things line up for it, it'll do a lot of work to help you win that game. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you read off Samurai Roboto?
Samurai Roboto.
We are officially in the home stretch,
1/5. 1/5 with a +3 low block with all chaos and water. Ready one of your opponent's foundations. Your attack gets +1 damage and +1 speed. So this deck is at common, so it's going to be available pretty readily in your draft pods. But what I really like about this card is it helps Yamato Man have a little more control yet over what cards in your opponent's staging area are committed for hitting things like the card we just looked at. And 1 damage and 1 speed, okay, you're giving them +1 to their control check, but you're also putting 1 damage on. So I think overall this card's super duper fair.
This card puts a huge smile on my face. I have some good memories of using Alluring Temptress to eke out little advantages. Like I would Chasm Buster my opponent, and they would tap out to block, and I'd play another Chasm Buster, and I would ready 2 of their foundations that were like face down or only had form abilities, and then I would say, stun 2 please, and knock those right back down. And it's so satisfying to do that to your opponent. And this card does an even better job than Alluring Temptress.
Yeah, Alluring Temptress is actually a really good comparison card here. It matches 2 symbols off of Chaos and Water, and Alluring Temptress does go away this set.
Yep.
I don't believe there's any plans to reprint this card, and I think the trade-off's really good here. Alluring Temptress was a 0 diff. This is on a 1, but instead you're getting speed in addition to damage to make sure that your Chasm Buster is really unblockable.
Yep.
And it gets -1 to its block modifier. And sometimes low blocks can be really hard to come by. So super fair, and I think it's a pretty powerful card. I'm super happy with this card too.
Yep, this is a great 1 diff to just throw in your decks and help yourself win. I hit the next button, so we're on to Senshi no Sonshu. This is a 2 difficulty 4 control foundation with a +3 mid block. The static text, after you play this card, your next check this turn gets +2. And enhance twice per turn, ready one of your opponent's foundations as the cost. Your next check gets +1. So this is a fascinating little piece of work here. I'm not really sure entirely what to make of it. It helps you play out your early turns. If you play this as your second or third foundation, it makes your next foundation very likely to pass. And then on an attack turn, if you can tap your opponent out, it lets you ready your opponent's board, perhaps turning on Tengu or Yamato Man's support, and also help your control checks pass. I think it's certainly a card you might see in Yellow Devil because it shares two symbols with him and it likes to be in the card pool. And also maybe even
Yeah.
in some water decks, just as a card to bounce with either Delta Kick or Dancing Flash, and then help your control checks along a little bit.
One card I'm really excited to pair this with on the, I believe it's the Chaos symbol, is Murakumo. I want to put this in my Snake Man deck. Because if you have, let's say you have two of these in your staging area and you multiple out a Murakumo and you just didn't quite get there, that's okay. You can keep playing attacks. Because
That's a
you
really
can
interesting
stack
point.
these over multiple enhances, and if you got two of these, you use their twice per turn ability twice over the course of a Murakumo, and your next check's going to get +4 as long as your opponent doesn't have a way to force you to make a control check. So you use them on your last two multiple copies. And right then you're at +5 progressive difficulty, but you're almost mitigating that with just two copies of this card in your staging area. So I think Giggles is going to like this card. He never checks bad, and this card super makes sure he never checks bad.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm coming around on this card. I think this might be a card that plays out very well when we actually put it into decks and play some games with it. All right,
Yay, that was useful.
what more?
All right. This is Yari no Tatsujin. 2 difficulty, 5 control check with all chaos and water. F destroy. If your opponent has more ready foundations than committed foundations, they must add the top card of their deck to their card pool face down. So, not really sure what to make of this card other than it increases progressive difficulty at the cost of destroying it. And if your opponent has more ready foundations, I'm just not sure I'm going to run this in a deck. No, it has no block on it. Has an F destroy cost. So you have to commit to doing it as a form. Overall, I'm not really impressed with this card. I'm not sure where I'm going to use it.
Yeah, definitely clogging your opponent's card pool is a nice thing to do, but really it amounts to +1 speed to all of your attacks for the turn, and also +1 difficulty to any reversals or any other shenanigans they might get up to. And that effect it's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's worth destroying a foundation over in general. And this, as you say, this card doesn't have a block. It's a 2 difficulty, doesn't have anything special going on. Um, yeah, I can imagine playing this, but only if I really need to have my opponent's card pool clogged up somehow. Maybe if I'm playing Team Fatal Fury and I'm really reaching for some reason.
Yeah, the other place I saw as a possibility to try to use this card if you're playing like a Jada deck or Kim deck, and you just need to not Kim, a King deck rather,
Yeah.
and you just need to get that little bit more damage for your Tornado Kick 95. Which, I mean, if you could destroy 2 of these and resolve an Unquestionable Loyalty, it does give your
Clog 'em
move
up,
like
yeah.
plus 16 damage or something.
Well, it gets
So I mean,
plus
you
2
get
for
the
each
potato.
card, then King herself is another 4. So sure, it's not bad.
But I think there are cards that'll help you do this on a much better rate than an F destroy, especially right in King support,
Yep. All
which is
right.
too bad.
Yeah, it's kind of a miss. I think I don't know what they were going for here, but it doesn't. It's not looking like it. It doesn't look like it's got much going on to me. All right, so let's move on to the very last card, which is a promotional card in addition to the rest of the set. Dark Laser. So this is a 4 difficulty, 2 control, 4 mid 4, 2 high block attack with powerful 2, ranged and safe, and it's enhanced. It's really an extra. It's a bonus piece of base support. So its enhance is this attack gets -1 damage and +2 to its powerful rating. Add 1 safe attack from your discard pile to your momentum. So I've started thinking of this card as just a 4 speed mid for 7 powerful 4. And if that doesn't impress you, you have standards that are way too high, my friend. Powerful 4 is pretty nuts. That
Hmm.
ends the game really easily, and only on a 4 difficulty. It comes at a decent speed with 4 speed, and it only really asks you to play some safe attacks in your deck so you can add them to your momentum. And there are plenty of good safe attacks available on these symbols.
Yeah, and if you're playing a devoted base deck, getting your opponent's hand devoid of cards to block with is not that difficult.
Yeah.
Combining all the void support available in this set, plus his safe moves, this card's going to put people away. And as a box topper, you only get 1 per box. You can't possibly get any more. So if you want a set of this, you either got to buy it from a secondary market retailer, or you got to buy 4 boxes. And I personally prefer if you bought 4 boxes.
One other cool thing you can do with this, if you're not in the market to just kill your opponent, you want to play with them some more, you can use that one to pay for an effect. Sorry, excuse me. Like Ever Hopeful, or like Dancing Flash, or like Satoshi 2 Dots Enhanced to make them discard down to 2 cards, and play with your food a little more before you finish them off.
Yeah, this card is a very powerful finisher, and I wouldn't be surprised to see people killing other people with this fairly frequently.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think an A+ card to end the night, or to end the review, because we still got a couple things to do tonight.
Yep. All right. Turning off all our pictures. I'm gonna upsize my face.
So, it's been a minute. Let's go and talk a little bit about the news. We haven't done the news in a little bit, and so some things to talk about. Brand new news today. Congratulations to Fernando Aragon. He successfully funded his Kickstarter for Steal the Show. I believe he got to 128% funding.
All right.
So,
congratulations, Nando.
Congratulations to him. Now, just don't pull a Jasco Games on us. I'd like to see the game before 2019. Now it seems like Fernando. It seems like Fernando is pretty far along in the design process, so that's not something he's got to worry about. I'm sure he's still making some final tweaks to the game, which I've seen the gameplay videos, looks fantastic. It doesn't seem like a game that's got a huge barrier to entry for folks who just want to sit down and play, but it does seem like there could be quite a bit of strategery and deception and all sorts of fun shit like that. So once again, congratulations to Fernando. Anything, Kevin Berber?
No, I mean, I think absolutely everything you just said. He did a great job with Kickstarter. We've all been doing our best to promote it through word of mouth, and it's great to see that he's had success. Hopefully, it's just a one step on a bigger journey to something even better.
Yeah, so if you get a chance, I don't know if he's going to be able to do with a backer kit like Jasco Games did, where you can continue to back the project after it's done. But I still say you should check it out. And if you didn't get a chance to back it, keep an eye out for it. I know it's going to be coming to Rochester CCG for sale for folks who are interested. So let's move on to some more news. Before we started the set review, Kevin Broberg, it was the middle of Gen Con. And I think some big things came out of Gen Con this year. Jasco announced that they sold all the Mega Man board games they took with them.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's good to see that market still exists. I was really worried for the longest time that because of the Kickstarter being so successful, there wouldn't be a market left really to purchase a lot of these games. And almost 8 months after its release, people are still buying it.
Sorry, I was taking a drink of water. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really good to see that the greatest 4 days in gaming, people still have a hunger to play with Mega Man and those characters. It's great to hear that they managed to sell all that out. I can definitely they do a great job every year setting up a really exciting booth, running tons of demos all weekend, and I'm sure that helped pay off for them in that way to be able to sell all that product.
Every year, I swear, their booth keeps getting bigger and bigger. This was the first year we hadn't gone, and I sure missed it. I think we're going to go to Gen Con next year, regardless of what the UFS thing is. But their booth just keeps getting bigger. Eventually, they're just going to be like half the vendor hall is just Jasco Games stuff, which is really cool for them. And they always have a great demo system set up where a lot of people can learn how to play UFS. They can play Mega Man the board game. I think they are demoing Top Gun this year.
Yep.
Just a lot of really good stuff going on. And overall, I think Jasco Games is in a good place right now. And it's not often I have something good to say like that. So, I'm really happy for them. They're getting some product out. They've got Lynn Vander, who helped them release Albion's Legacy. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's available on RochesterCCG.com. It's a fantasy board game with both the Lynn Vander and the Jasco Games brand on it. I encourage you to check it out. And Top Gun's about to come out. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is about to come out. We have a release date for this set and the next set. Like, the only thing left for them to straighten out, honestly, after the successful Gen Con is organized play.
And to make sure that they keep their knickers up with set releases after Blood Omen.
That's a true story, but I think having that US-based printer is going to be really, really helpful. I mean, if they're able to turn around a set even in half the time, I mean, with the printers overseas, it was a minimum of 3 months to completely turn around a set after the print button gets pressed.
Yeah,
Whereas
absolutely.
here, it's in the country, so I'm sure they're looking at maybe like even half the time is a month and a half. Which, if for some reason they fall behind, it's easy to get caught up when you don't have to wait an entire quarter to just get something printed.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And hopefully this is a turning point for them that they, But I guess gotta. I mean, I have to remain a little pessimistic for a few minutes here, because they have shown signs of life in the past and then went right back to flatlining.
Yeah, so I think now is the time, especially for you people out there who are loyal and support Jasco Games. We do have, plan to get some sets out. It's time to go out and really push the demo scene again. Because if they keep moving product, it sure makes it a hell of a lot easier for cash flow to make sure they can keep hitting that print button.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this is this is the largest print run, this Mega Man set, the largest print run they have ever done. And they need to get the print runs bigger and bigger to make sure we don't have shortages, to make sure we can accommodate for the game's explosive growth, which is coming. I think Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are the game changers when they come out.
Yeah, having current IPs is just unbelievably important. You'll get people who don't just buy the cards to collect them. People who, like me, I started playing UFS in whole like 100% because Soul Calibur was like how I spent two of my summers, and they had Soul Calibur, so I wanted to play the Soul
Or
Calibur card game. So and then I bought a box of Street Fighter because the guys at the game store said that was the set to buy. So I started playing Sakura instead. My brother had a Tierra deck, and all of the Soul Calibur characters were available were trash. And I just lived with it because the game was actually awesome. So you'll get people who pick up the cards just because they like the IPs, and they'll stick with it because the mechanics are incredible. I think that right now we have one of the best sets just for entry level players. We've got a whole bunch of great starter decks on the market, and yeah, I think this is an incredible. It's an incredible opportunity to go out and start recruiting people and getting them into this game and helping it grow, and then really getting the ball rolling to completely. My metaphor is falling apart because it's something to do with the ball once it like takes off on a rocket ship with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat later on.
okay, we're gonna stop you there. But like Kevin said, right now I think we have more amazing entry products in UFS than we have ever had. I don't think there really are any starter decks right now that are utter trash. I mean, J Talbane's not great, but he's not trash.
There
There are
was a
cards in there
forum
that
thread
people play.
recently where someone was asking for general advice, and the story was actually that they were playing the Felicia deck and getting uncontested, like they were getting annihilated by a J Talbane starter. So Tim did something right when he designed those decks.
Hmm. And there's still a ton of starter product available. I know that tins are still available. Mega Man, Proto Man, Lilith, and Morgan all still available. Great starter deck products, especially that Mega Man set. Really good for somebody who's just getting in the game. We still got starter decks from Rise of the Masters with Mega Man and Dr. Wily. We still got starters for not Morgan, Jay Talbane and Felicia, the Broken Queen. They just released the Turbo starters for the World of Indies, which if you just guys want to play Turbo, if you want to play in a small format, great place to start. And then this set, which overall I think there are less than 10 cards in this set, Kevin, that I think are just stone unplayable, which
It's probably
is
about
the best I think it's ever been.
yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like there are many like 8 seconds in this card in this set.
Yeah, there are not many cards that are just like such a low power that they completely lack a purpose. I'd have to think really hard about the set, and I'd probably have to go over it again to know how to actually go with exactly 10 cards. But yeah, it feels like most of the cards had a home. That most of the characters had a home. If not being outright competitive out of the box, that they would at least have kind of a place to live in a metagame. Uh, a way that things could shake out where they would take advantage of the best decks and just knock them out. Um, I definitely think it's a healthy set for the game as long as the best cards don't wind up being too good, for sure.
Yeah, that
And
is that is that is the risk of increasing the power level.
Yeah, but
for sure.
as long as you don't show up to your demo days with a spec'd out turn one kill Turbo Man, you won't drive anyone away with your overpowered cards.
So I think, like I said, overall, at the end of this, I think we're in a really good spot. I still think if UFS and Jasco Games was a hospital patient, they're out of the ICU. Things are looking good. They're getting ready for physical therapy, but they're not quite ready to go home yet. I think they need to get a little stronger, and I think we'll be completely out of the woods. Now, I think it's going to be a short show tonight, Kevin, because I think if you're all right with it, I'm ready to go up to the upcoming events section.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're towards the end of the hour, so yeah, let's hit up some upcoming events and move on.
It's like 20 after 9.
We started at 8:30, right?
Oh snap! You're right. I'm not used to starting on the half hour. So upcoming events. We're getting towards the end of the season here. Just a week from this Saturday is the Amsterdam PTC in Amsterdam, New York, at Professor Bond's Emporium, and I have been told by the tournament organizer that is going to be a one-day event, which is probably good because I think their store owners go on vacation the following day because they're closed for a week.
Oh.
And I do not want to have to wait a week to resolve our PTC.
Oh,
unless we have the super special finals in Rochester.
That's happened before. It's actually contractually required that the finals be held in Connecticut. It's like kind of like the Olympic Committee. There was a bidding process and Connecticut won. Just like with Timke's.
After the Amsterdam PTC on September 10th is the Abilene PTC at Rick's Collectibles in Abilene, Texas. Nice Texas event in September. Weather should be pretty good. A few weeks later is the Warren PTC, September 24th and 25th at Eternal Games in Michigan. They hosted us for the first time last year, and I think it was a really good event. They had streaming set up, and it was pretty accessible to lots of good places to eat and hotels. So, I really recommend going to that event. Unfortunately, Abilene, I don't know anything about you, so I can't pimp you out quite like that. October is the Santa Clara PTC, October 8th and 9th at Game Castle. Please get out there if you can, especially if you're on the West Coast and don't plan to go to Nationals, because I do think that event is going to suffer attendance-wise because of that. Because October 14th to 16th is U.S. Nationals at the Holiday Inn in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a special one with the blimps and Jason's picture and the Waffle House in the background.
Sadly,
that's going to be a good time.
I took down the stream scene picture that was just the whole splash banner. I don't have that online anymore, but yeah, they have quite a promotional poster. Go check it out on Facebook if you haven't seen it already.
After that event is the New Orleans PTC, October 29th and 30th at Go4 Games in New Orleans, Louisiana. Rockford has 2 northern PTCs. The Rockford PTC, November 5th through 6th at Top Cut Comics. Kevin Berberg, you've been there before. How did you like the venue and whatnot?
I thought it was excellent. The venue had a lot of space. I got to sign my name on the wall for all the winners when I won. They had a nice hot dog place right outside the door. They had a bunch of food in it was in a big plaza. They had a Starbucks and maybe a Chipotle or something. I don't remember.
And they have pizza cake.
And then there is pizza cake after the event or whatever when you hang out at Chris Smith's house. And Chris Smith was an amazing host last year. I'm really looking forward to this year. We're cramming even more people into his house. So I'm really looking forward to that weekend.
Kevin, you're a big boy with an adult salary. Maybe you should consider getting a hotel.
I should consider it, but I should also not say no to hanging out with all my friends. So.
Well, if I decide to roll out there, I'll probably get a hotel. And we always share, unfortunately. Let's see. November 19th to 20th is the Poughkeepsie PTC. That is the 3rd or 4th New York PTC of the year because we are awesome. That's going to be a champion card collector, November 19th and 20th. If you can get to that one, that's also a fun one to go to. Champion's like in an old video store, so it's got a really nice setup. The guys there, the store owner actually knows how to play UFS, which is kind of unusual.
And it's right down the street from an A+ bagel joint.
Yeah, like New York style bagels.
Yeah.
They also have a really good pizza place in the plaza too. New York style, and
that pizza place was
bomb ass chicken wings.
Yeah.
I know Jack Hill's working on that event, and Jack Hill always works really, really hard to make sure UFS players get a good time, they get good prize support. So I'm always excited to go see my friends in Poughkeepsie. And then last but not least, in Riverside, California, December 3rd to 4th at GMI Games is the Riverside PTC. So, if we get an early, harsh winter in New York like we are predicted to, going out to Riverside might be a nice break from the 8 feet of snow we're going to get.
Although I
Because
flying in the winter really kind of sucks because you go out and you have to you have to deal with the cold weather and you have to wear 14 layers and take them all off in the airport, and then you come back and it's like you're used to being warm again, and then you have to wait outside for your ride, and it's just the worst.
And so what I'm waiting on right now with bated breath is the start of the 2017 PTC schedule. I'm waiting to see when the World Championship's going to be presumably in Las Vegas again. And Las Vegas is a nice trip in the middle of the harsh New York winter to go and have some fun in the sun and see my UFS friends and gamble and get drunk. So I'm really excited to see the schedule for next year. Hopefully maybe I might be able to go to a couple more, or maybe not. You never know. Anything else for tonight, Kevin Broberg? I think we are just about wrapped up the hour.
I just want to add one thing to the event schedule, which is at your local game store this Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, there is probably a Mega Man Battle for Power pre-release event. If there isn't, there's definitely going to be one next week. Friday,
yeah, go
out to your store right now.
Sure.
Yeah, and find out when you'll get to play sealed or draft with these new cards.
And, before we go, real quick, we're just going to give some old-timey advice on how to play and draft. And I'm going to go first, just a couple of things to keep in mind. In UFS draft, it's not, our cards aren't, huge money cards, so don't always just pick the money card first. Unless it's a Scorch Wheel, then you may want to pick that as your first pick. Watch out, depending on the size of your draft, you could find yourself kind of corralled in or out of some symbols. Try to make sure you're looking out for that early, because it would be a damn shame if you're trying to draft Void and the person to your left is drafting base and the person to your right is drafting Turbo Man, because you're probably going to have a rough night if you're also trying to draft Void as well. And remember in UFS draft you can have as many copies of a card in your deck as you want. So if you find a common attack or foundation that you think is really good and is going to help you win, get as many of those as possible. I know for the draft that they did for Warriors of the Night, I played Lord Raptor in both drafts, and I think I drafted 7 or 8 copies of Soul Beats for my decks both times.
It's a good place to be.
So,
yeah, definitely.
And then lastly, don't lock in too early, but probably around pack 2 or 3, I'd start thinking about what you want to be playing.
Yeah,
Kevin Broberg, it's all yours.
Keep your eyes open to any kind of we call them signals when you get a card late that you expect to be a very powerful card, and that kind of indicates that your neighbors aren't going to be playing those symbols. Keep your eyes open for a flexible card that can go into multiple different characters or different decks early on, rather than maybe taking, I don't know, a Gyro Man ultra rare attack that forces you to play Gyro Man and forces you to have face-down cards before it'll even work. Because it might not work out if you end up not playing. If you the signals don't go that way. Definitely, I would recommend focusing on attacks first, because you want to make sure your deck can actually win the game. That's very important. And then having, if you have you don't want to have more than 17 or 20 attacks in a 40 card deck, but that's a completely those are both completely unrealistic numbers to play in a 60 card deck, and it's really fine in draft because people are much worse at blocking. People don't punish you for attacking as much, and people's attack strings aren't nearly as devastating compared to constructed. So it's a little nicer to go kind of play fast and loose that way. Plus, you'll have good blocks. You'll be able to play good fundamentals and just defend yourself with those good block modifiers as well. So that's my advice. Make sure you have a way to kill people, and don't get too tunnel visioned. Don't make choices that force you into tunnel vision, and keep an open mind and have fun.
Yeah, and if you're planning to go draft and you're really planning to win, I recommend taking a couple hours, at work when you're supposed to be working. Hop on Rochester CCG or hop on the forums. look at the cards. So you kind of have an idea of what they do. Because I know when I'm sitting at the draft table, nothing pisses me off more than somebody to my left or right taking 10 minutes to read every single card. So, do a favor to everybody else at the draft, kind of familiar yourself with it. So, people, you have an idea of what's going on so the draft can keep moving. Because the stores eventually want to close at night. You want to actually start playing UFS. And, taking too much time to read can really put a damper on everyone else's experience. But otherwise, draft lots of cards, have fun, try something a little different. Maybe that's not your normal play style because you're getting 6 packs anyhow. And remember, for those who come in first through fourth, the kit does include 4 of those swanky playmats. So each first through fourth is going to be getting those. And anybody out there from Rochester listening will get an additional bonus. I'm additionally sponsoring the tournament so that everybody who shows up to the PTC at Millennium will get a playmat guaranteed.
Nice. All right. In case anyone in Rochester is watching, now you know you got to do this Friday. Show up and get a playmat.
So we will see everybody next week where we will be discussing our first thoughts on actually getting to play with these cards. We'll be back at our normal time at 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. And I think on that, we'll say goodnight.
All right, good night, everybody.